Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a topic that, well, it touches everyone, yet we often shy away from talking about it openly. I'm talking about the nuanced experience of being alone.
Right.
Do you know Dr. Vivek Murthy, the former U.S. Surgeon General? He once highlighted that loneliness and weak social connections are associated with a reduction in lifespan similar to that caused by smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow. That's a powerful fact.
Yeah.
Pretty shocking, actually.
It really is. It underscores the gravity of social connection, or the lack of it.
It absolutely puts it into perspective, doesn't it? How vital our connections are and the very real health implications when they're lacking.
Totally. We often think of loneliness purely as like an emotional state.
Exactly. But stats like that show it has tangible physical consequences, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But our deep dive today isn't just about the dangers of loneliness. It's really about fundamentally transforming our entire relationship with being alone. We're going deep into Renuka Gavrani's powerful book, The Art of Being Alone, Solitude is My Home, Loneliness Was My Cage.
Great title.
Isn't it? And Gavrani's core mission with this book, it seems, is to move beyond just, data and academic research.
Right.
She aims to speak from one heart to another, offering this deeply personal yet incredibly actionable guide to redefining how we experience solitude.
And that's such a crucial distinction she makes right off the bat.
Yeah.
This book isn't simply about, say, managing the negative feelings of loneliness or finding quick fixes to fill those voids we perceive.
Yeah.
It's about actively embracing and leveraging solitude as a profound tool for personal growth, for self-discovery. It frames being alone not as a problem to be fixed, but as this really rich opportunity, something to be seized and cultivated.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our mission with this deep dive is really to extract Gavrani's most important insights, her practical strategies. She guides us on this journey, transforming what might currently feel like a cage of loneliness
Into what can truly become a home, a place of profound personal growth.
Exactly. So get ready, because this deep dive, I think it's going to challenge some really deeply held beliefs we have about ourselves and our relationships.
For sure. It forces you to look inward in maybe some new ways.
Okay, so we begin by exploring the first major section of Gavrani's book, Turning Loneliness into Solitude.
Right.
And the author kicks things off by really digging into society's perception of loneliness. She argues it's far more than just a passing emotion. It's a profound societal taboo.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how Gavrani connects our adult fear of loneliness directly back to childhood conditioning and these pervasive societal narratives. She gives these vivid, almost visceral examples that really hit home. Think about the girl in high school she mentions.
Oh, the one eating alone.
Exactly. Ostracized just for eating lunch alone in the cafeteria. Or think about how movies, books, even pop songs, they consistently portray lonely characters not as, say, independent or introspective.
No, they're always weak or pitiable, right?
Yes. Weak, pitiable figures who almost always need some heroic external savior to rescue them from their isolation. And this raises a really important question for us to consider, I think. How much of our deep-seated aversion to being alone is truly innate, a core human need, and how much of it is something we've actually been taught to fear?
Yeah, like a narrative we've just absorbed from the world around us since we were kids.
Precisely. How much is learned versus inherent?
That's a powerful point. And it leads directly to what Gavrani identifies as the fear of judgment. She points out that this ingrained societal fear, it becomes so deeply rooted within us that we actually start judging ourselves before anyone else even gets a chance to.
We become our own harshest critics.
Exactly. Anticipating disapproval even when it's entirely imagined. It immediately brings to mind that quote from David Foster Wallace.
Oh, the one about realizing how seldom others think of you.
That's the one. You'll stop worrying what others think about you when you realize how seldom they do.
Such a great line. And the profound irony, as Gavrani highlights so well, is that our biggest enemy, our most relentless critic, is often,
well,
it's us.
Totally. She shares her own college experience where, she looked admired, busy, surrounded by people.
Right, from the outside.
But secretly, she was agonizing over being alone. She was the one preoccupied with others' perceptions, convinced they were judging her solitude.
But in reality,
nobody else was even thinking about it. Her fear was entirely self-generated.
It's a compelling illustration of that intense internal battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Often completely unseen by others. We construct these elaborate, often negative narratives about what people might think.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actively live by those self-imposed judgments. We trap ourselves in a cage of our own making, really.
And then she talks about the pervasive, almost inescapable myth perpetuated by the entertainment industry and digital media.
Oh, yes, social media gets a mention.
Definitely. Gavrani really calls out how social platforms especially constantly showcase these cute little groups of friends or highlight friendship goals.
Right, the curated perfection.
Exactly. You scroll through feeds filled with seemingly perfect selfies from trips, parties, endless curated moments of connection. And this barrage, she argues, creates this insidious and deeply harmful idea that being alone means being lonely.
And the result?
A profound feeling of being the only lonely person, or worse, the only person who wasn't chosen. It's this manufactured narrative that makes us question our own worth.
It creates such a distorted reality. It's an illusion that can profoundly impact our self-perception, leading us to believe that our inherent state of being, just being alone, is somehow flawed or abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is precisely where the author introduces her pivotal, truly transformative distinction.
The core idea.
Yeah. Being alone and being lonely are two different things.
Yeah.
This is the foundation she builds the whole book on.
And this is where the profound shift in perspective really begins. Gavrani asserts that being alone is like a factual, objective state. It simply means you are with yourself.
Right, just the physical reality, neutral.
Neutral, exactly.
Yeah.
But loneliness, that, she argues, is entirely a mindset.
Okay.
It's viewing yourself from the lens of sympathy and misery, which she contends lowers your self-respect and chips away at your value. This isn't just semantics, you know? It's not just playing with words. It's presented as a fundamental shift in perception that unlocks real change.
That makes sense.
So if we accept this distinction, what does this all mean for how we frame our time alone? How do we start dismantling that automatic negative link?
Well, it means we gain immense agency, right? If loneliness is fundamentally a mindset, a way of interpreting our alone time,
Then we can change it.
exactly. It's something we have the power to change. It's about recognizing that the feeling of insecurity, of being left out or incomplete, it stems not from the simple fact of being physically by yourself,
Right.
but from an internal narrative that we've often unknowingly adopted. It challenges us to look inward and ask, am I truly lonely? Or am I just seeing my alone time through this lens of societal judgment or maybe personal inadequacy?
The author's personal reframe is such a perfect example of this in action. She talks openly about her conscious choice to stay in her hometown, focus intensely on her writing, be close to her parents.
That deliberate choice.
Totally deliberate,
Yeah.
made despite what society might expect, for a young woman in her 20s. The parties, the hot dates, the bustling social scene.
Right, the pressure.
Her breakthrough, her liberation came when she consciously threw the lens of loneliness out of the window. She describes realizing that once she genuinely accepted she was all by herself, not pitiably, but just as a fact, she could truly see the opportunities, the richness around her.
She stopped waiting for others.
Exactly. Didn't wait for weekends or friends to have fun. She intentionally sought joy every day, found pleasure exploring her city, reading, doing what she wanted, all by myself.
Free from opinions.
Completely. It's a powerful illustration of that Taylor Swift quote.
Oh, yeah.
The scary news is you are on your own now, but the cool news is you are on your own now.
I like that. Scary and cool.
Yeah.
It's about taking advantage of that independence.
Definitely. And building on that personal shift, Gavrani moves into her analysis of the trap of romanticizing life in Chapter 1.
Okay.
She opens the section with a really stark, almost brutal statement. If there is anything that can be crueler than death, it's nurturing false hope in your heart, just to see them crushing every piece of you at the end.
Wow, that's heavy. Sets a serious tone.
It does. But it sets the stage for this critical look at how we set ourselves up for disappointment.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this pervasive narrative she talks about, being saved by some external force, a heroic lover, the perfect best friend. It's not just in romantic stories. It's alarmingly common in a lot of self-help approaches, popular culture stuff, that promises quick fixes from outside ourselves. The author points out how media, YouTube, books, movies, constantly depicts this broken or incomplete protagonist who's ultimately saved by some external, often angel-like figure.
And this feeds into a really problematic belief system, she says.
Yeah, a dangerous subconscious one.
Which is?
Basically, you are not enough to change your life all by yourself.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So we end up passively relying on this perfect person who...
Often doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Exactly. Gavrani shares her own story here about waiting for a Joey and Chandler kind of friendship.
Like from Friends.
Yeah. Feeling incomplete even with friends, just because they didn't fit that idealized sitcom perfect mold she had in her head.
Right. That constant waiting for an external savior stops us finding our own strength.
Precisely. And then comes what she calls the harsh post-college reality check. Gavrani explains this fundamental shift in adult relationships. After a certain age, you don't make soul friends. You just meet people, help each other when needed, and be nice to each other so that you have good people in your network.
That sounds a bit bleak. Networking versus friendship.
It's definitely stark compared to, say, childhood friendships. But the danger she points out is if we keep imagining every nice person we meet is a future buddy or potential soulmate.
We're setting ourselves up.
Yeah, she says we're effectively digging a graveyard of your hopes.
Yeah.
Setting ourselves up for inevitable disappointment by clinging to an outdated expectation.
That's tough. But necessary to hear, maybe? So what's the alternative she offers?
The empowering alternative is to radically reclaim your own narrative.
Okay.
Instead of passively waiting to be saved, she urges you, the listener, to imagine yourself as the main character of the movie that is your life.
I like that.
And here's the crucial part. You have absolute creative freedom to write your own bold, wild, unique story.
So take control.
Exactly. Actively choose not to play the victim in your own life. Refuse to spend your days crying for someone you never had. It's about seizing control of your inner world and your path forward.
This powerful call to reclaim our narrative leads us, maybe a bit uncomfortably, into Chapter 2, The Cost of Hiding Your True Self.
Yes.
Gavrani starts this with another deeply poignant quote. The most painful and scariest thing in the world is to look in the mirror and not recognize the person staring right at you.
Oof, yeah. And this is where that fear of being seen as a weirdo or unchosen, as she puts it, really takes its toll.
That's so.
It's the driving force behind what she calls the people-pleasing spiral. It pushes us relentlessly to become an ideal version of ourselves for others rather than our authentic selves. We try to fit into these molds that just aren't ours.
Right. She gives such vivid examples, things I think many of us recognize. Saying yes when you mean no, dressing uncomfortably for acceptance.
Using cringe words.
Yeah. Or adopting popular opinions that aren't really yours. And the insidious result, the more thought you give to what people think of you, the less attention you give to what you want, and more importantly, what makes you, you.
It's a slow erosion of identity.
It really is. And we've all been there, haven't we? That feeling of competing since childhood, trying to be the perfect version for parents or the cool kid for peers, losing ourselves along the way.
And this self-distortion, this constant bending to fit external expectations, is precisely where Gavrani argues true loneliness is born.
Right, not from being alone, but from losing yourself.
Exactly. She states it directly. Loneliness is not when you don't have people around. Loneliness occurs when you cannot find yourself inside you.
That's the paradox she mentions.
Yeah. You might be surrounded by people, yet you feel lonely, precisely because you've lost connection with your authentic self in the process of trying to fit in. The crowd offers no comfort when you're a stranger to yourself.
Gavrani bravely confesses her own struggles with becoming this ideal version, silencing her inner voice, neglecting her own opinions, likes, fears. And she argues that just like we stop talking to people who ignore us, our souls stop communicating with us when we ignore them. Which makes time with oneself incredibly painful, almost unbearable, because there is so much hidden that if you sit down to uncover the layers, years will go by, but you wouldn't be able to find the real you.
That's intense.
It is. And that's why, she says, in moments of realization, there are some days when you miss yourself more than you have ever missed anyone else. It's this profound yearning for what's been lost.
That raises such an important and practical question, though. If our true self is buried so deep under layers of people-pleasing and societal pressure, how do we even begin to unearth it?
Right.
What does this mean for the concept of self-care that's so popular today if it doesn't involve this kind of deeper, often uncomfortable internal work?
Like it's more than just a spa day.
Exactly. It highlights the crucial difference between maybe superficial fixes and that profound self-discovery that truly reconnects you with yourself.
That's a perfect segue into Chapter 3, Rediscovering Your Authentic Self. Gavrani uses this brilliant analogy here.
Which one?
She describes trying to be different tabs of personality for every person, eventually leading to a system crash where the real personality has crashed.
Huh. I like that, the browser analogy.
Yeah, and it's quite ironic, she points out, how we then desperately search for self-love hacks or external fixes after we've completely lost ourselves internally.
And she challenges that commercialized definition of self-love, right?
Yeah.
The shampoo bottles and perfumes.
Totally. Instead, she offers two foundational, deeply transformative pillars of true self-love.
Okay, what are they?
First is knowing yourself. Genuinely understanding your deepest thoughts, your true nature, the hidden aspects behind all the manners and etiquettes.
Getting real with yourself.
Exactly. And second, equally crucial, is accepting yourself. Acknowledging everything that is inside you and accepting it, be it good or bad.
Even the ugly side.
Especially that. The danger, she warns, is hiding it, because the deeper you hide, the darker it gets. Those hidden parts don't just vanish, they fester.
That really challenges the societal belief that we must always be loving, caring, and cute.
Right. Gavrani argues that pressure leads us to try hard to be nice, even to people who are abusive or disrespectful, and this constant effort just drains you.
Yeah.
She uses the villain analogy from stories
Well, interesting.
to remind us that complex characters, even villains, have a full spectrum of emotions. It reminds us our dark side doesn't define us, but it is still a part of us. We're complex humans, not phones with limited features.
I love that. We're not just tree set features.
She shares her own liberating realization and acceptance of being selfish at times, which, rather than making her worse, actually led to clarity in relationships and setting healthier expectations.
That's a critical insight, isn't it? Understanding and accepting what society might label a flaw actually leads to stronger, more honest relationships with yourself and others.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about authenticity being the non-negotiable foundation for all interactions. It's not about becoming some perfect, curated version,
Yeah.
but embracing the full, messy, complex spectrum of who you truly are. Self-love, she reiterates, isn't bubble baths. It's the rigorous work of knowing everything about yourself, however ugly or dark or bad your truth is, and accepting yourself with it.
And transforming flaws into strengths, creating that home deep inside you where you can be you.
Exactly.
So if that's the goal, how do we actually do this work? Gavrani explains that self-love isn't instant. It fundamentally grows with self-knowledge.
Right, no quick hacks.
No, she emphasizes it's a lifelong journey because humans change rapidly, preferences evolve, and we live in this world of constant distractions where it takes less than a second to start wishing for something that we never wanted just because everyone else seems to have it.
It's continuous recalibration.
So she provides practical approaches for this journey, starting with a powerful directive. Come face to face with your mind.
Okay.
When you're truly alone, stripped of distractions, you're left solely with your mind, which can feel like a luxury or, well, a punishment.
Depending on your relationship with it.
Exactly. The mind tends to pull us back to worries, regrets, negative thoughts, often making us actively avoid solitude through distractions, even toxic ones.
Right, that quote you mentioned earlier about the fear of finding oneself alone.
From Rolla May, yeah. Many people suffer from the fear of finding oneself alone, and so they don't find themselves at all.
Powerful.
Gavrani describes her own meetups with my mind during the COVID lockdowns, that forced solitude.
Ah, yes.
Through that sustained engagement, she realized her mind wasn't an enemy, but this complex inner landscape to explore. She found freedom in knowing yourself.
How?
It meant bravely facing buried truths, acknowledging mistakes, confronting fears. So she advises you, the listener, to dedicate at least 10-15 minutes daily to this practice.
10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, to just be with your soul, reading your thoughts like you were reading a classic book, becoming your own therapist, essentially.
Okay.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? This isn't just passive reflection. It's presented as this profound act of liberation. What's your take on facing your thoughts intentionally like this?
What stands out is the deliberate intentionality of it. It's not passive. It's an active, almost courageous engagement with your inner world.
Right.
It's about dismantling that fear that your own mind is an enemy or unbearable, and instead treating it like a complex, valuable text to understand. This regular, quiet practice builds that bedrock of self-awareness, which is absolutely essential for genuine self-acceptance and ultimately for growth. It's an internal dialogue many of us just haven't been taught how to have.
Then she moves to another crucial aspect. Know thyself beyond worldly tags.
Ah, the label.
Yeah. Exactly. She recalls a high school professor's challenge. Talk about yourself without relying on external labels, not writer, lawyer, good person.
That's hard.
It is. She uses the analogy of babies as pure beings, free from all the worldly tags, spreading love without judgment. The tragedy, she argues, is how society relentlessly puts us in a box. We start defining ourselves and others by these arbitrary tags and slowly lose our authentic selves, our capacity for that pure happiness for no reason.
This is a really powerful call to divest from those external definitions. She shares that painful memory of being tagged ugly at 10.
Yeah, shattering her confidence.
And her advice, born from that, is profound.
Yeah.
Actively let go of all the tags that the world has thrown at you, and just as importantly, free others from the tags you give to them.
How do you do that practically?
She suggests this mental counter when someone tries to label you. Internally mutter,
Yeah,
yet another tag, but I don't want it. A quiet act of rebellion.
I like that. She argues we're beyond the titles of the external world. We're a piece of everything we owned, every place we have traveled, every person we met, and every word we read.
That's beautiful.
She contrasts a generic label like Renuka is a great author with a richer description, someone who writes in a way that makes you feel safe, loves nature, loves coffee.
More human, less defined.
Exactly. And she notes this is a lifelong process, not a one-time fix.
Makes sense.
And finally, under self-knowledge, she suggests this unique approach. Define who and what you are not.
The inverse approach.
Yeah. She gets that self-exploration can feel overwhelming. So her advice is a clear starting point. If you cannot figure out who you are, figure out who you are not and who you don't want to be.
That immediately provides clarity, she says, on your choices, principles, thinking patterns. This inverse approach really simplifies the daunting task. By explicitly identifying what you reject, what you don't stand for, you inadvertently eliminate what you genuinely value.
So how do you practice this?
Gavrani encourages a daily 5-minute reflection. Write down things you don't like and why, even if they're socially accepted. This simple practice helps you think independently, she says, rather than just conforming.
But she adds a caution, right, about sharing these opinions.
Yes, a crucial one. She advises against sharing these newfound contrary opinions too freely, suggesting the world is full of clowns and not everyone has an open mind.
So it's not people-pleasing, but...
Strategic self-preservation. Choosing your audience wisely. She gives her own example of not drinking in college despite pressure, because I knew I am not this and I never will.
And her principle.
If you compromise with your principles once, it will become your habit to cheat your principles and do what's cool. Knowing what you don't want helps you stop taking the garbage in, reject the bare minimum, raise your standards, and naturally repel toxic influences.
So after all this deep introspection, we arrive at chapter 4, titled The Love for Solitude.
Right, the goal.
She kicks off with that Wayne Dyer quote, "You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with." Then she immediately challenges our desire for external guidance, stressing, "You need to walk alone to reach where you want to go. Everyone has different goals."
And she backs this with her own history of transient friendships, right?
Yeah.
Changing schools, losing friends, the roommate replacement, the girl gang parting ways.
Yeah, experiences many of us relate to. She acknowledges that initial sharp pain of missing people, realizing you wouldn't be able to meet the people who are a part of you in the same way again.
Which leads her to that harsh truth about forever.
Yeah. Deconstructing the perfect illusion of forever from shows like Friends.
Where everyone stays together for decades.
The reality is different. People are on and off in everyone's life. They have their own lives, careers, families. People aren't ambulances who can be available to you whenever you want.
It's not a criticism, just the reality of adult life. And this isn't about discarding relationships, but recognizing their evolving nature. It raises that question. How do we maintain connection while embracing necessary independence?
Right. Gavrani suggests that in our generation, forever means following each other on social media, maybe commenting occasionally, expecting more.
Is just preparing yourself to get hurt, setting yourself up for pain.
The ultimate independence, then, is internalizing this. You are on your own now. Except for you, no one is going to stay by your side forever. People cannot babysit you forever.
Wow, that's blunt.
It is, but the empowerment comes from intentionally creating enough space in your heart for yourself so that being with yourself feels safe and loved.
Than being with others because...
Well, bonus, not a short-term pleasure or escape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She concludes part 1 by saying viewing loneliness as solitude is a privilege. And when you're ready to walk with yourself, then it's time to walk toward your dream life.
Which takes us neatly into part 2 of the book, Turning Solitude into Growth, period.
Yes. This is where she shifts from just understanding loneliness to actively leveraging solitude for advancement and fulfillment.
Chapter 5, Practicing the Art of Being Alone, starts by reiterating that key distinction. Some are alone because they lack connections. Others practice being alone to connect with themselves.
Accidental versus intentional. She reinforces this with powerful historical examples, right? Great minds seeking solitude.
Exactly. Figures like Georgia O'Keeffe, the mother of American modernism,
Moving to the desert.
to live deliciously alone, finding inspiration there, quoting her, "I had to create an equivalent for what I felt, not copy it. Solitude was her crucible."
Incredible. And not just artists.
No. Nikola Tesla advocating seclusion. The mind is sharper in seclusion. Originality thrives in seclusion. Be alone. That is the secret of invention.
Wow.
Van Gogh creating thousands of works despite loneliness, finding calmness, pure harmony, and music inside me. Even Cal Newport notes how great minds sought solitude for deep connection and creation.
The irony is stark, isn't it? Our generation treats solitude as shameful loneliness, while historically great minds sought it as a luxury, a necessity for inner exploration and peak performance.
Yeah, it really highlights how societal narratives have shifted, maybe not for the better.
And Gavrani argues this isn't accidental. She suggests giant companies, especially social media, are designed to keep our need for validation as the focal point so that they can trap us in the cycle of misery.
That's a strong statement.
It is. She observes this dichotomy. Focused people setting boundaries are often okay being alone, escaping noise, while constantly distracted people often have zero goals with no real connection.
So what's your take on her point about being manipulated into distraction and focus becoming a new luxury?
It speaks to the insidious nature of modern digital environments. The constant engagement, the validation loops, they're designed to prevent the very solitude Gavrani advocates.
Right.
This creates an illusion of helplessness, where people search endlessly online for how to be productive, when, as she sharply points out, your real guidance is you. Your heart knows, your mind can figure it out.
But if you keep filling your mind with external opinions,
You risk becoming just a copy. It reinforces that idea. If you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time with, and you don't spend quality time with yourself, how can you be an average of yourself? The calculation is skewed.
it's a wake-up call to reclaim our mental space. So to practice this, she introduces digest, reflect, and reset.
The brain is a stomach analogy.
Yeah. Over-consuming content is like overeating junk food. Makes the brain tired, sluggish, exhausted, leading to mental junk out. The brain needs time to digest what you consume through conscious solitude.
Because of the constant bombardment of info, opinions, data, we reach a state where you don't think anymore, we just accept what influencers say.
Right. Solitude becomes the filter. Sifting garbage, curating opinions, analyzing thoughts, not just reacting. It's a detox for your brain.
She admits it's tough, though. Especially if you're used to cheap entertainment. The mind attacks with regrets, fears.
But facing it, she insists, leads to freedom and peace. She reinforces that 10-15 minutes daily practice to detox your brain every day. A small investment in clarity.
Then she moves to the art of getting bored. Sounds counterintuitive.
Totally. But she explains creative ideas often come when not looking for them or not doing anything at all. A constantly stuffed mind leaves no room for your brain to digest, causing tiredness, lack of focus, no creativity.
And she introduces dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing.
Yeah, being present without purpose, slowing down. A counter to our busy as a badge of honor culture, our fear of not being productive.
Which leads to frantic activity or numbing with cheap entertainment.
She reframes getting bored as a form of meditation, a practice in self-control, teaches resisting cheap entertainment, controlling desires, building patience.
The creative process isn't instant, it's an art. Letting the mind wander, but actively taking back control from negative thinking leads to creativity and mastery of mind.
Finally, in this section, she tackles learn to belong to yourself.
Facing life's impermanence.
Exactly. Nothing stays forever. People change, leave, or you leave. If you don't learn how to belong to yourself, you'll feel lonely every time someone leaves you, constantly vulnerable.
So keep an open heart for loved ones. But crucially, learn how to enjoy your own company. Find satisfaction within.
She uses that powerful garden analogy. Make your life like a garden where you have all types of people and interests and hobbies so that you always have something or someone to love and receive love.
Implying profound self-sufficiency. When you're complete within, connection comes from genuine desire, not desperation. You select rather than living at the mercy of others to be selected.
Okay, moving on. Chapter 6 encourages us to turn loneliness into growth, period.
Right. Using that quote, "You are who you are, so why not like it?"
Oh, yeah.
applied to being alone.
You are alone whether you like it or not, so why not like it? If you dislike it, then create some reasons to embrace it. Don't expect life to throw reasons for you to be happy. You cultivate it.
She shares her own post-college struggle. Lost, desperate, lacking skills, burdened by pressure. Her realization. The only person who was missing from my side was M.E.
Wow. Which leads to that paradox. Great at motivating others, terrible at supporting ourselves.
The part-time motivational speakers who leave the wisdom behind when it comes to themselves, falling into self-sabotage.
Yeah. Why is it easier to advise others than apply it ourselves? What's that barrier?
It's a fundamental question. Maybe the emotional distance. Easier to be objective for others.
Could be. And Gavrani wants us to dismantle that. Chapter 7 offers a reframe. Make a new best bud.
Okay, who's the new bud?
She describes her own desire for success and a slow life, contrasting it with the societal standard for 20s partying dates. She emphasizes the path to success is lonely. You often have to choose goals over constant social outings.
If friends' goals don't align.
Right. She chose to dedicate myself to my goals, live for my dreams, turn my imaginary world into my reality. Her new friend, she reveals. Her goals and dreams with success and achievements. This friend is lasting, empowering, a different kind of companionship rooted in purpose.
That's a fascinating perspective.
She urges a mindset transformation. Look at your alone time through the lens of a highly successful person. Think about how they will use their time. And if you think about it, it's neither loneliness nor solitude. It's just time.
The meaning is in how you use it.
Exactly. Her call to action. Make your dreams your best bud. Start a self-improvement streak with every small achievement, like adding a new memory to your list with this new companion.
So how do we build these dreams? Chapter 8, Building a Dream Life Plan.
Tackles this head-on, starts with the core problem. If you don't know where you want to go, how will you ever reach there? Most people have vague definitions. Lots of money, nice house, travel, happy.
But what do those really mean? She makes that blunt assessment. We are clowns.
Yeah, pretty direct.
Arguing we're manipulated into believing that success means a big house, lots of money, and aesthetic pictures from vacations. The real issue isn't wanting things, but blindly copying others' dreams.
The Chanel bag, trip to Italy.
To avoid seeming poor, stupid, or weird. It's a well-designed system that has robbed us of our basic capability to think independently.
Wow. She challenges that lack of specificity. How much money is enough? What's the plan for the first $100? Mental stillness, how much meditation?
You are living in a bubble, she warns. If you think that just by imagining and wishing, you will become successful. This is where alone time is necessary for clarity.
When you spend time alone, it is only then you will come up to know what your soul truly desires. Without external manipulation, the soul speaks with no manipulation.
Gavrani admits realizing her own dependency on others for decisions when she was finally alone. This highlights why we follow the crowd. We don't trust our decisions and choices, seeking safety in numbers, avoiding the less crowded path.
So she challenges us. Are you tired of wishing to be like everybody else? Exhausted trying to achieve success without enjoying the daily process?
Her message is direct. Learn to define your definition of everything. Don't just want everything that is glittery and shiny because you haven't discovered what you actually want.
She says, I cannot tell you what to do. I don't know who you are. The responsibility is yours.
Sit down and start defining things for yourself. What does happiness mean to you? Success to you. Make it your compass.
You cannot build your life by walking in someone else's footprints. Ultimately, be the owner of your life.
Okay, dreams defined. Now, Chapter 9, the action plan.
Crucial phase. Stresses the why before the how. Can't build a dream life without knowing what you don't like about your life right now. Need 2 strong reasons why you want to change.
Without that why, action fades. And this is where she brings in that nuanced view of self-love, distinguishing genuine from toxic self-love.
Right, the kind that avoids reality.
Exactly, an imaginary bubble. Instead, she urges, be honest with yourself. It's okay to be harsh sometimes. The gap between potential and reality creates self-loathing. Radical honesty is a tool for growth, not punishment.
Facing fears, self-sabotage, making efforts, not excuses.
Then, step 1, the power of one thing.
Avoiding the change everything at once trap.
Yes. Gym, gratitude, healthy eating all at once leads to burnout, giving up, lowered self-respect. The catch, she reveals, is to focus on one thing at a time. Easier, visible results, build confidence.
She shares her own success, career breakthrough from one decision, writing one article every day on Medium. That single, consistent action transformed her.
Action is the cure of almost everything, she believes. So she guides the listener. Pause. Identify that one thing which keeps pulling you down, causing anxiety, stress, feeling stuck. It might be why you dislike being alone.
This focus on one thing is so practical. Dismantles paralysis, builds momentum and self-efficacy, tangible proof we're capable. The cure is solving the problem and rebuilding belief in our ability to change.
Absolutely. After identifying the issue, step 2, one big action.
Moving beyond vague goals.
Right. People set big goals that sound cool, but fail due to lack of clarity. Action goals, she explains, mean you know what you will be doing. They are clear-cut what you are supposed to do every day.
For example, write one article every day. Simple, clear action, no complex tracking.
So for the listeners, one big issue. Write down one action goal, specific, actionable daily step, and then no matter what, DIT, consistency is key.
The final piece. Step 3, know your nature and sync your activities.
Avoiding forcing yourself into things.
Yeah, the more you force yourself, the more you will feel low and depressed, like it's imposed on you. She shares her failures waking at 5 a.m. despite books and videos. Cursed myself for sleeping till late.
Until she discovered differing biological clocks. Not everyone's an early riser. Forcing it is counterproductive. She works best at night.
This is crucial. One-size-fits-all self-help often clashes with individual nature, leading to demotivation. If you force yourself to apply someone else's solutions, you will lose the grip on your own life. Why many give up?
Goals should be fun and exciting, not exhausting. Be flexible, find your style and time.
Her approach, write 10 pages daily, but when she feels like it.
Yeah.
Fitness, move my body every day. But how? Dance, yoga, cycling is up to her.
You don't remain the same. You evolve.
Right.
Adapt methods to your evolving nature.
Now for the exhilarating part. Make your alone time addictive, Chapter 10.
Okay, wow.
She explains we love being with people whose presence is addictive. Love, laughter, stimulation. We dislike others who offer nothing. The problem, our relationship with ourselves often falls into that second category.
Ouch.
She shares her transformation. Old friends message her, but she prefers her addictive alone time. Why? She has more interesting things to do internally. She transformed my alone time from miserable to addictive.
That's the goal, not just tolerating, but craving solitude.
First step, create multiple sources of joy. We have unpursued hobbies, skills, wishes due to lack of free time, despite wasting hours elsewhere.
Kids find joy easily. Entertain themselves. Adults expect others to come and entertain us.
She asks the listener, what is the one thing you do every day to make yourself happy? Often hard to answer. We feel exhausted not from work, but too little of what truly makes us happy.
So the solution, do even just one thing intentionally daily that brings joy. Not cheap happiness, but rich joy. Hidden in small moments, tea smell, sun rays.
This intentional joy is crucial. How can listeners adapt this even in seemingly joyless environments? It's about personal agency, seeking or creating joy, not waiting passively. The choice. Either you find joy or the worry finds you.
Okay, second step.
Learn new skills and challenge yourself. Debunks the geek myth that studying is boring. Argues media promotes a wild lifestyle to make us mentally weak. Followers, not leaders.
Acknowledges rigid education can make people hate books, but celebrates post-school freedom to choose books that excite and help you grow.
Shares her own journey, hating books, then transformed by the monk who sold his Ferrari reading 200+ since.
Books become guides, friends. Books are powerful. Words hold the power to change your entire life. Offer wisdom, learning from mistakes, build empathy, confidence. Books are our best friend. They don't leave you like people do. Honest.
Encourages reading various genres, self-help, philosophy, spiritual, fiction, to feed your brain.
And it's not just books, podcasts, TED Talks, online research. Feed your brain with knowledge, not garbage.
Suggests a fun exercise, a Feeding My Mind folder notebook. Summarize podcasts, research topics, profile inspiring people. A symbol of transformation concludes, don't let time slip. Educate yourself, train yourself, and most of all, have fun with yourself.
Powerful. And the final chapter.
Chapter 11, Become Independent, explores past fantasies of shared adventures that didn't happen, the core problem. We expect to have fun with other people, imagining shared experiences.
Parties, dinners, picnics. Then disappointment when reality doesn't match due to other schedules or desires.
She stresses, it's not anyone's job to satisfy your desires. However, the desire is there. Someone should pay attention. And that someone should be you. Don't bury desires because others didn't fulfill them. They're yours.
So the simple truth of adulthood
Do the things that you wanted to do with others by yourself.
gives examples.
Yes. The movie Sleepover Dream realized after college you don't get to do these things. So she created her own heavenly movie setup alone. Lights, candles, pasta, movie. Became independent of my needs.
The picnic?
Her monthly solo trips to an open ground book, journal, crocheting, coffee, donut. It feels like real self-care.
This isn't just survival, it's radical self-reliance for joy, being the primary agent in your own happiness.
Exactly. She urges the listener. Push you out of the door to go and do everything that you always wanted but never did because you didn't have an army of people.
Provide specific ideas.
Lots. Solo dinner date, coffee date, click pretty pictures, talk to self, room makeover, write love letter to self, buy flowers plant, gift self, praise self aloud, suggest writing an I missed myself letter, expressing past neglect, promising change, committing to desires.
It's about learning to romanticize the actions that you take for yourself. Acknowledge your desires and turn them into something better than your imagination. It's all about making an effort for yourself.
She concludes with that dinner party analogy. The world is like a big dinner party where you are supposed to serve yourself. Wait for others, you'll be starved. Explore, be proactive, go get it yourself, because you are on your own.
Wow. What a journey laid out in that book.
It really is. This deep dive into Renuka Gavrani's The Art of Being Alone truly unpacks a revolutionary approach. We've covered that crucial distinction. Loneliness as mindset versus being alone as a state.
The power of self-acceptance and self-knowledge.
Defining your own dreams, setting actionable goals.
And the art of making alone time a source of joy and growth, cultivating it.
Absolutely.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just about being alone, is it? It's really a manifesto for self-ownership, for intentional living in this incredibly distracting world.
Well put.
The deep dive today offered not just nuggets of knowledge, but really a full roadmap to cultivating a resilient, fulfilling inner life, something that can sustain you regardless of external circumstances.
Building that robust internal world that becomes your home.
Exactly, your unshakable home.
It truly is about realizing that the most profound, most lasting relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. So in a world constantly pulling us outward, defining us by connections, what is the single most important intentional step you can take today to truly begin building that home deep inside you?
Something to definitely ponder.
Indeed. Something to think about until our next deep dive.